Hello, and welcome to Winner Circle. Is your go-to source for actionable insight on business. And also, we're going to be featuring stories on leadership and strategies. I'm your host, Jay, and in today's episode, we are diving into the world of law firms. And not just only law firms, we are trying to explore strategies for doubling your revenue as a law firm owner. So our guest today is Liz Scott, a highly respected attorney, sought-after speaker, author, and dynamic entrepreneur. He's the founder of the eight-figure firm Consulting. So join us today as he shares his insight. So welcome to the show, Liz. How are
Thanks
you
for
doing
having me.
today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to our talk.
Thanks. You're welcome. Good to have you on the show. So my first question for you today is, what are some strategies law firms can use to potentially double their revenue?
It's very unusual or unlikely that you're going to go from zero to $100 million in revenue in a year. And since we know that, then the question is, where between 0 and 100 million do we need to set our sights that is realistic? And by that, I don't mean negative. I mean that you can actually achieve based upon your work ethic and your ability to put in the time, sweat equity, and your financial resources. So I think that's where it starts is putting together a plan. And then the second part of that is executing. And so many people put together a plan, but don't execute. They don't actually do anything that can take them to the next level. And so if I was a firm that was less than $3 million in revenue, the strategy that I would employ is direct response marketing, which is pay-per-click, which is LSA, which is lead generation, referral-based marketing. I would spend my energies immediately seeking out people who are ready to hire me today. I would have to have lunches, dinners, networking events, referral partners with lawyers that do what I do, with lawyers that don't do what I do, every type of non-attorney professional that I could think of. I would be very involved in the community. That's what I would do if I was under 3 million in revenue. Because at under 3 million in revenue, the majority of your time needs to be spent on client generation. And then if I was over 3 million in revenue, I would start my focus on branding and putting more money into the business brand so that the brand can reduce my cost of acquisition and increase what I charge. And so that's where I would start: planning, executing.
All right. So increasing what you charge. Now let's talk about increasing what you charge. When it comes to increasing revenue, what are the most important factors for law firms to consider?
I mean, I think it's law firms and any business in general. If you want to charge more money, you have to be able to deliver more value. And the way you deliver more value is highly dependent on your sales ability and your sales team. If your team can't communicate the value that you're going to be delivering, it's going to be very hard for them to deliver it in a way that the person's willing to pay that. You know, recently I was talking about hiring a consultant, and I hired this consultant after listening to their brand for many, many months. I was listening to their podcasts, I was listening to their social media, I was reading their emails, and I became convinced that the value that they were going to offer me was significant. And so when they quoted me 10 for two 30-minute sessions, I had no choice but to pay it because I was already convinced that the value was there. And so if you want to charge more money and increase your revenues, you have to build the value proposition so that when people come to you, they go, I have no choice but to work with this person, and I'm willing to pay whatever it takes. And so that's what charging more money is all about, is having a value proposition that exceeds what you're charging and then being able to deliver that through your sales process so that the person says, I have to work with them. I can't not work with them.
All right. That's great analysis right there. How would you recommend, just your own point of view, the law firm should approach pricing to drive revenue growth? How would you recommend? What would you recommend?
When you're developing your pricing structure, you have to really ask yourself, what is it that I'm delivering to this client? And what is the best way to get a client to hire me? You know, for most personal injury type firms, it's very unlikely that somebody would hire you on an hourly basis because they're not going to have the money to pay you on an hourly basis. But for the practice areas that are hourly and that are flat fee, you really want to ask the question, what is it that I'm going to have to put in terms of work into this person's case? How do I make that work profitable? And what is the fee that I have to charge after I've decided the amount of work that I'm going to put in and how much profit I want to get out of that particular hour? And so again, it's all about value proposition and value delivery. You have to first identify what is the value that I'm going to create for this person. what is their outcome that they're going to receive for working with me, and then what can I charge for that outcome. And so I'll give you an example. This is not really law firm related, but it's similar to law firms because I do consulting, and we have a flat fee. It's paid on a monthly basis. And when we were designing our pricing structure, the thing that we asked is, what does the client get? Forget about how much we're going to charge. What do they get? Okay, in package one, they get this. What is the outcome they're going to receive from that package? Oh, they're going to receive 50% growth in their law firm, and the average firm in that package is 1 million. So that means they're going to get $5 of new revenue if they hire us in that package. Now that I know that, the question is, how much of that 500,000 should the client be willing to pay in order for me to help them get there? And then from there, we decided to put a pricing structure. And for us, it was 36,000. So if you wanted to grow 50% and you're a $1 million firm, you want to go from 1 million to 1.5 million, it would cost you to work with us $36,000. And we do that with every single package, with our highest package being $240,000 a year. We have to be able to identify what is the outcome the person's going to get. Not only what they're going to get in hard deliverables, but what are they going to achieve because of the product and service that you've provided. And that's how you work backwards on your pricing structure.
Oh, that's great. But how important are acquisition and retention? How important is it for law firms if they want to grow their revenue?
I mean, acquisition is the most important thing. I remember when I was growing up in the legal field, one of the partners of the firm said that new clients are the lifeblood of the business. If you can't acquire new clients, you're going to have a hard time growing your business. So acquisition is so important.
Sure.
But if you don't spend time in customer service, you're going to have a very difficult time in the retention part. And so I think that acquisition and retention are probably two of the greatest things that you can focus on. In fact, I would argue that acquiring clients and retaining them is almost more important than the service that you're providing. Because if you can't figure out how to acquire them and you can't figure out how to retain them, it doesn't matter how good you're going to produce. You're not going to have enough clientele to make the money that you want to make. So I think acquisition and retention is absolutely critical, not just in the legal space, but in any space.
Let's dive into physical presence right now. All right. Should law firms consider expanding their physical presence as a way to increase their client base and also their revenue? What would be your take for that?
When you say physical presence, do you mean their locations?
Like having multiple offices, multiple locations to, have a lot of clients and boost their revenue? Would you recommend?
I mean, that's a really, really difficult question to answer. It depends on where the person is in their particular journey of legal. One of the things that I always say is that you start with a particular location and you want to grow out. You want to make that particular location the epicenter of your business and grow outwards, because it's much easier if you're living in a city to expand to the city that's the closest to you than it is to expand to a state that's halfway across the country, right? And so if I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, starting an office in Augusta, Georgia, or Norcross, Georgia, which is really close to me, is going to be much easier than starting a company in Los Angeles, California. And I think that a lot of people, what they do is they want to go wide. They go, I'm in one city and I want to go to a city that's 4 or 5 hours away, or I want to go to another state. And so I think that that's a mistake. You want to take your epicenter and grow outwards so that you have some level of connection and connectivity, and your brand can continue to follow where you're growing. So you're spreading out versus plotting new places all over the place. And so whether you should start other offices has to do with your financial ability to start other offices and really your strategic plan for growth. And for me, unless there is some viable reason to start in another state or a place that's really far from you, there's plenty of business probably in your locality. And so just start expanding there first, capturing as much as you can, and then eventually you can go to another state or to a city that's far away.
Now let's talk about technology. Technology is right now is the next big thing. A lot of people are. It's not even the next big thing. It's the big thing right now, because everything. Like right now, we're doing this virtually. We don't need to take a truck and drive over to where you are. Everything is easier using tech. So how can businesses streamline operations and also maximize revenue using technology? Especially, let's even take the note from law firms. How can that similar results?
I mean, let's really look back. I mean, technology has always been streamlining businesses. If you remember when the email came out, that streamlined business. When the smartphone came out, that streamlined business. When you could now communicate through social media, that streamlined business. When we had payment options that were credit card or online, Stripe, QuickBooks online, that streamlined business. And so for me, it's always funny when I hear a law firm or a lawyer say, or a business owner say that they don't really need to get on technology because their process works well, or they're already doing pretty well. And it's like, yeah, but you accepted technology when you accepted the email and the computer and online and your website and your social media and your marketing and your payment account. You did all those things, but now you don't need any more technology. It's like we lose sight of the fact that the things we consider normal today were actually innovations, right? And so I think that if you're in any kind of business, you should always be asking the question, what is the next thing that I need to be using? What is the next tool that I need to be accessing? What is the next resource that I need to be acquiring so that I can stay ahead of the competition and not fall behind where they're using something that makes them much quicker, much faster, much more efficient. And so I think technology is massively important in a law firm or in any business because technology is what's already helped us streamline to today, and it's going to continue to help us streamline into the future.
So now let's take it a little bit a deep dive into the very important part of the session, which is the marketing part for any business. Marketing is very important. So what strategies would you recommend for law firms to try
For
to
marketing?
expand their client base? Yeah.
It really depends on the size of your firm. The smaller you are, the more sweat equity and grassroots you need to do. The bigger you are, the more you could spend on mass media. But my three-part initial framework is you want to work on your referral strategy. There's 3 parts to referral strategy, which is lawyers that do what you do, you should reach out to them. Lawyers that don't do what you do, you should reach out to them, and non-attorney professionals. So that's the first part of the strategy. The second thing is your customer journey, building out your customer journey so there's plenty of touch points so that you can actually contact clients in the pre-engagement glide path, which is before they become a client, and the post-engagement glide path, which is after they become a client. We always work on just when they're a client. And we need to work on before they're a client and after they're a client so that we can maximize our referrals. So that would be the second thing. And then the third thing would be your digital strategy. That's paid social media, organic social media, LSAs, which is a local service ad. Some people call it Google verified, pay-per-click, and SEO. And so I think if you do that, even with a limited budget, you can see massive results. And we've seen that across the spectrum, not just law firms, but even non-law firms. I think we see that across the spectrum in every single category.
When you talked about revenue, growing revenue, I know, of course, we know that growing revenue isn't without challenges. There's challenges that comes with it. So what are some common obstacles law firms might face along the way?
For growing, the hardest part about building your business is the people. Think about this. When you think about like an Amazon that has 1 million employees or something crazy like that, you better believe they have way more people issues than they have marketing issues. Amazon does not have a marketing issue. They don't even, in fact, I've never even seen an ad for Amazon. I've never seen a billboard for them. I've never seen a TV commercial for them. We just know Amazon exists. Everybody knows because there's been so much word of mouth. They're already out there. And I'm sure they have some sort of subliminal messaging. Their vans driving around with Amazon on the side of it is great billboards, right? We know that. But the reality is they don't have a marketing problem. What they have is they have a people problem. They have to deal with like lawsuits and discrimination issues and injuries and all kinds of, people are not getting paid enough and HR issues and PTO issues. So I think that's the biggest struggle with the growing a law firm, growing any business is like you have to get really good at managing people. You have to get really good at caring about people. You have to get really good at understanding people. And most owners don't want to take the time to learn that. All they want to do is they want their team to perform because they pay them. And unfortunately, we don't live in a world where that's the way it works anymore. That's the old leadership style. Paying somebody is not enough to get them to work for you. You have to do more than that. You have to care about them. You have to teach them, train them, coach them, and find a way for them to grow in your organization. Because if you don't, they're going to be gone. They're going to use their talents in somebody else's organization. So that's probably the greatest challenge is people management. And then making sure you manage cash flow is probably the second greatest challenge. Sometimes people get ahead of where they should be from a money standpoint, and that could be, very detrimental.
So we have people problem and cash flow problems.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for that information. What step do you recommend for law firms, or what step they need to take to establish and maintain a strong brand?
So brand,
So
to me,
brand to me,
there's six elements to a brand, and this is surprising to a lot of people when I tell them what the first four. But the first four elements of your brand is vision, mission, values, and service standards. Those are, what is your vision, what is your mission, what are your core values, and what are your service standards. That's where it starts. That's where your brand starts. Number five is, what is your unique selling proposition, and then number six is, who are you? What is your context? What is your background? What are your demographics? And so when I developed the brand for Eight Figure Firm Consulting, the brand was this: we have a vision to be the leading authority in law firm building. That sets the tone for everything that we do. We're an education center. We have a mission to help 100 law firms reach 8 figures in predictable revenue. That's the outcome we're going to get for our clients. That's all part of the brand. So the vision is, what is it that we're going to do? The mission is, the vision is what we're going to accomplish to be the leading authority in law firm building. The mission is what the client is going to receive from us, which is 8 figures in predictable revenue. We have core values, which are extreme generosity, leading with courage, living a life of significance, urgency, and execution. And we use those to identify the types of people that we want. I want clients who are generous. I want clients who want to be significant. I want clients who are courageous. I want clients who work with urgency. And so those are our core values. And then our service standards. You will receive a response to an email within 24 hours. You will receive a call back if you call us on the same day. We will never cancel your consultation. So those are the four first parts of our brand. So when you look at our messaging, you'll see a lot of that intertwined in there. We're going to help you grow to 10 million. We're going to help you have the most education as it relates to your business. But then there's two more elements. It's a unique selling proposition, which is what makes you unique. So for me, what makes me unique as a consultant is that I was a lawyer who built a $40 million business, and I can teach you how to do it. So that makes me unique. And then the last part is me. What is it about me? So like, let's get rid of the fact, yes, I'm a unique person within myself, but what is it about me is that I'm Hispanic. I was a lawyer. I was a reception. I was in marketing. I was a legal assistant. I was a paralegal. I was in sales. And so who I am is I've been made up of all these different things. I speak Spanish, so I'm bilingual, so I can help you if you have Spanish speaking clients. So when you add those six things to your core four, which is the four things that you service, that creates your brand. And so our core four is sales and marketing, production, people, and finances. And so what we do now is I take my core four and I take sales and marketing, production, people, and leadership, in finances is number four. And I add that to my brand, my vision, mission, values, service standards, unique selling proposition, and me. That creates my brand. And so the power of having a brand like that is that you are very clear on who you're trying to attract. It is very clear when somebody comes to our website or sees our advertising that we attract lawyers who are ambitious, who care about people, who want to be great business owners, and who want to be able to leave their law firms without having to work there all the time. Like, it's very clear that that's because that's our brand and that's who we appeal to. And so that's the power of the brand. I think it's super critical to have a brand. And for people who don't have a brand or not building their brand, they're just losing out on opportunities because they're not capturing people who would naturally hire them if they just knew about the brand.
I love the way you put those words together. You talked about the challenges that comes with businesses to grow their revenue. You talked about people. All right. What training would you suggest for business or law firms to implement to help?
I mean, as it relates to people, you can't force people to do anything they don't want to do. And so one of the things that I've always told my leaders is hire people that are already energized, that are already bought in, that are already engaged. And you won't have to engage them, energize them, or get them to buy in. Just find those people. And how do you find those people? Well, when you're building a business, what you're really building is a community. And so the way that you attract people into your community is that you're very clear as to who belongs in the community. And once you know who belongs in the community, then it's going to be much easier to attract people. You can use extreme organizations to see this, right? I mean, when you think about like really extreme organizations, like let's think about like the KKK, right? It's very clear who's not accepted there and who is accepted there. All right. Now I use that just to illustrate that you can be that way with your organization without having to be racist. You could be an organization that it's very clear that you're kind and loving. It's very clear that you're accepting, or whatever your organization is. And so if you want to have an organization that is powerful, that is that is doing great things in the world, you define the parameters of who belongs in your organization, and you look for people who are already engaged in that type of organization. It reminds me also about like politics. It's very clear who believes this, and it's very clear who believes that, and they don't attract the opposite. Nobody ever goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm in the wrong political event." No, no, no. I know what that event is about. So I'm going to either go or I'm not going to go. Like, because I know who's excluded and I know who's included. And so we have to get better as organizational leaders of defining who belongs in our community. And once you do that, then you don't have to engage them. You don't have to do anything. Now, from a training standpoint, you should always be in the spirit of training. I think the better you train your team, the better you train your people, the better you train your leaders, the better your organization will be, and the more likely that your community will reach in a bigger way. And so yeah, so I believe highly in training, but if you want great people, define what that looks like, and then hire people who are already great, and then you won't have to create them.
All right, thank you. Now, talking about hiring people who are great. So let's assume I'm an attorney and I have an organization, a law firm, and I have like people who are not energized, and you are the professional when it comes to getting great people. Do
Mhm.
you or does your organization offer that service to help me, you know, change all my team and bring in new people on board? Or do you offer that consulting?
So yeah, so I mean, we have a five-pronged strategy for consulting law firms. One of them is people focused, and we do second in command training, which is your director of operations training. We also do leadership training to develop your leaders. Then we do team training to develop your team. But then we also help you hire and fire and identify people who should not be a part of your organization, and help you find the right people. So we do all those things. It's not it's more complicated than just simply rolling in there, right? Like it's hard to just fire everybody and just start over. You need somebody to be doing the work, and so it's more of a systematic identifying what the community stands for, identifying what it is that you're looking for, and then systematically hiring people to replace the people that don't fit in. And then you do that over time, and eventually you'll have the right team.
Now, let's look at the law firm itself. If a business or a law firm is trying to raise their revenue, are there any practice area, that are lucrative for law firms to look into if they're trying to grow their revenue?
All of them. All of them are lucrative. I used to think that personal injury was the only the only practice area that where people could become rich, because that's what I was accustomed to, and those were the people that you would see on billboards. But the reason is it's more complicated than what I'm going to say. But the types of people that start immigration, family law, criminal law firms in the past, not the case today, they tended to not be as entrepreneurial in nature. And since they weren't as entrepreneurial in nature, they would have a much more difficult time going out and building their business. And so that was one of the reasons why uh, those law firms didn't try to that weren't as big. But one of the things that I have found is that if you are entrepreneurial in nature, any practice area is going to grow. And I have firms that are 10, 15, 20, 30 million dollars that are not personal injury firms, that are immigration firms, and I have family law firms that are actually being able to grow because they are entrepreneurial in nature.
Let's talk about collaboration. When we
Okay.
call, we talk about businesses, is always good for business to collaborate with each other
Mhm.
to, get to open up a new revenue stream, like new opportunity for revenue stream. What would be your advice for law firms collaborate with other law firms? Like what steps, what ideas, what strategies?
I mean, I think that collaborating with other firms is a little bit of challenge because you're not really doing the same practice areas. but definitely going into groups and being part of mastermind groups and conferences or communities where like ours, A Figure Firm Consulting, that has like a community of lawyers where you can come and talk about your problems and issues. I think it's a great idea. That's probably the only thing that I would recommend is get in groups where you can actually meet people who are trying to help other people grow. And if you do that, your business will be better off.
What advice would you have for law firms that are not making their um their projected revenue? There's probably they have yearly revenue, and this is like their third or fourth year, and they're still struggling, and they don't even know what to do. So, what advice would you have? They're about to just, what? Maybe I should just get another and focus on other things. What would your advice be?
Well, number one, you need a strategy session with someone who knows how to build firms because you clearly don't know how to build it. So go get a consultant, help them, tell them what's going on and see if they can help you. Number two, it's very likely that there's only two things going on if you can't grow your business. And it really just comes down to two things. One is there's a leadership problem, which means you're not good at planning and developing your business. Or two, there's a marketing problem and you're not good at strategizing your marketing so that way you can reach people. Because marketing, again, I've said this already, but marketing is the easiest thing you can do. It's not that hard to get in front of people and let them know what you do. But it's hard to let them know what you do and they want to be a part of it, right? If I had a restaurant, it'd be so easy for me to tell people that I had a restaurant. It's a different thing to be a good cook and make good food, right? And so I think a lot of times people don't realize that the marketing is easy. Do you have a value proposition that people want to buy? Do you have food that people want to consume? Is it going to be good once they consume it? Are they willing to tell their friends about it? And so if you're 3 to 4 years in and you're struggling, go out and get somebody who can look at your business from a third party perspective and see if they can help you. That's where I would start. Analyze whether you've been a bad leader or not a good leader, and then also look at your marketing. What have you done to do marketing? I was recently working with a law firm, and they were telling me they're not growing. And I said, well, how much are you spending on marketing? They said 5%. Well, no wonder you're not growing. You're spending 5% on marketing. That's nothing for your $1 million business. That's $50,000. Ramp that up to 100,000 or 150,000. You'll see the change. And so I think it's really, really important that we don't underestimate the importance of planning properly, leadership, and going out and putting yourself out there. And so if you're struggling, go talk to somebody who can look at it from a third party perspective. And that's probably going to give you the most insight that you could ask for.
That's great. Marketing, 10. So you would recommend 10 to 15% of their annual revenue in marketing?
No, I recommend actually 25% of your annual revenue in marketing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
25%.
So let's talk about social media marketing. What's your take on social media, using social media for revenue growth or revenue generation?
I mean, everybody's on social media. I think the last time I checked, 4 billion people have social media accounts. And if you're not on social media, you're losing opportunity. I think one of the reasons that people don't get on social media is they don't understand how it works. They don't want to create content. They don't want to spend the money. And I think that you're just losing huge opportunities. So if you want to grow a business, specifically a service-based business, although products work well on there too, but if you want to grow a service-based business, you have to be on social media. You have to be promoting yourself where people are. You have to be putting yourself out there so people can see your name and likeness. And so for me, you want to be on all platforms, posting at least 2 to 5 times a day, and you want to spend at no less than $10,000 per month on Meta, which would be Facebook. Facebook is still king, and I still think that that's where you're going to get your biggest bang for your buck. So spend $10,000 a month on Facebook, post 2 to 5 times a day organically on all 5 platforms, and that'll be a winning formula for you on social media for sure.
All right. Now let's assume I own a law firm. I'm not so good with internet or social media. Even my team are just, they're not really conversant with social media and internet. And I really want to outsource it. What would be your advice on how to go about it?
Time you don't know what you're doing on something, you should hire somebody else to do it for you. And not knowing how to do something is never an excuse to not doing it. And we know that social media is something that you should be doing. And so if you're not doing it because you don't know it, then you need to hire somebody who does know it. I mean, the reason you make money is to use that money as leverage so that leverage can buy you time, energy, and personnel. And so if you don't have the ability to do it and you don't have the time to learn it, then you need to pay for somebody to do it. But not doing it is not a solution. So it's just as simple as going and finding somebody who can do it for you.
How did you start? What was the journey like setting up an organization like yours? It's quite a big organization. So what were the mistakes, that maybe one or two people can learn, probably going through the same process like you did. You passed that stage right now. How was it like, navigating through those process? I know it's not easy, but I know it's a process.
I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you want to be successful, there's only one word that you have to keep in the back of your mind, and that's perseverance. You have to be willing to persevere. And yes, I did start off as a receptionist when I was in undergrad, and I went on to become the managing partner of a law firm. And then ultimately, I've now helped hundreds of law firms around the country and around the world build their businesses bigger. But there was a lot of challenges in that time period, whether it was people challenges, marketing challenges, cash flow challenges, whatever the challenge was, there was a lot of challenges. And the one word that kept me through it all was perseverance. And so if you're right now thinking about starting a business, starting a law firm, starting anything, you really need to ask yourself, where am I lacking in my perseverance? Where am I not persevering in a way that's going to help me overcome what it is that I'm struggling through right now? So to me, the most important thing that you can do is just persevere. No matter what challenge comes, just persevere. And that would be the greatest piece of advice that I could give anyone.
All right, thank you so much. So perseverance is very important. Just like I always talk about failing forward. So you have to persevere. It doesn't happen overnight. So you just have to build, and you get to your destination. It might take you a year, 5 years, 10 years, but at the end of the day, you're meeting up the goal. So what are your last words for businesses who are trying to scale?
I mean, for me, the most important thing is planning, plan, and then make sure that you and the team that you have or the team that you're going to hire can execute. One of my favorite phrases is the speed of growth is tied to the speed of implementation. The faster you implement, the faster you're going to grow. But you should be implementing the things you've planned. So start off with planning, finish with implementation, have perseverance, and you'll win at the end.
All right, thank you. So one last thing, for people who really want to follow up with you, they enjoy the session and they really want to probably, relate with you as you as the business coach, or, learn one or two things about your organization and how they can reach out.
Yeah, you can reach out to me at luisscottjr.com, luisscottjr.com. You can find all my links there on About 8-Figure Firm, my books, my podcast, and how to get in touch with me if you want consulting or speaking.
All right. So talking about books, I said one final thing. Talking about books, for the listeners, we call them the winners. Can you recommend 5 books? 5 books for them to read.
Yeah, The Science of Getting Rich, Working with the Laws, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, The 4 Agreements, and The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
All right.
Take those 5 and you should be on the right path.
All right. Thank you so much. And I'm sure my listeners are really happy to have you on the show. And thank you so much for honoring the invitation to be on the show today. And hopefully we have you on board next time when we have this topic.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us on Winner Circle. We'll bring the best insight on business, not only business, leadership, and strategies for you to build your revenue. So in this episode, we have the privilege of talking with Lee Scott, a leading legal consultant, about strategies for law firms to double their revenue. And I want to say, I hope you find this conversation informative and inspiring. Until next time, keep winning and keep striving for success in all your business endeavor. Have a nice time. See you next episode.
This is the symbol of Yerbo's record. This is the symbol of Yerbo's record. This is the symbol of Yerbo's record.